Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
I'll see you.
I'll give you a call, Rob, about Wednesday.
Yeah, I think.
Or
Yeah,
I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you Tuesday about it.
I haven't seen anything from the engineers yet, what their
What
formal
they're
plan
wanting.
is, but if they match the board, the supervisor's agenda, that should work out pretty good.
Okay.
But I'll get on that progress here.
All right.
Okay, Paul, while we got you on the phone talking about the deputy in the recorder's office, we got your message that she does not have to be a deputy to sign off on that.
All right.
That's what one recorder that got 15 years of service told you, right?
Correct.
But there's nothing in the code on it, is there?
Well, and that's where I've spoken to a number of recorders. I had sent Mel an email saying, you know, I understand that you might prefer it to be a deputy, but are there restrictions legally? And I've not had any recorder show me anything. I mean, Mel had forwarded me the Iowa code, but, you know, the recorder I talked to was in Louisa County, been there 15 years, and that's what she said, is that she has, her clerks are able to do everything. And I asked her specifically about DNR because she wasn't sure. And I said, well, was that a legal restriction with some sort of void or reversal? And she's like, well, no, actually, I think what DNR said is they want the recorder to have access and one other employee. And said, so I think I could have, I'm pretty sure I could have selected that employee to be a clerk. She said, I didn't, but the DNR just wants there to be limited numbers of people who can do a void or reversal. So I followed up with Mel again, and, you know, she has the document, and I asked her again, I just want to make sure that I'm giving the board correct information. You know, if it's illegal, no one's told me yet, or nobody's pointed to anything that does. So I'm not aware of anything that says, you know, to process this transaction, you must be a deputy or must be a recorder. I just can't find anything like that at all.
And if it would so be that the board does allow her to name her a deputy, she does not have to be on percentage. She could be on an hourly pay, right?
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
going to be a
doesn't-
deputy does not qualify him for the percentage, right?
Right. I mean, well, it's you know, 6 to 1, half to the other. As long as she doesn't, or as long as the employee doesn't exceed 85% of the deputy's wage, you know, you can call it whatever you want to. We're paying you $16 an hour. Well, that also equates to, you know, 62% of your wage. So, yeah, I mean, there's no legal obligation that any elected official has to keep their employee, their deputies, at a percentage. All the law says is it can't be any higher than 85%.
But on the reverse side of that, it gives her legal authority to raise that if she wants to. And,
Correct.
And all we have is the ability to bottom line the budget.
Correct. Yep.
And didn't you say when we were first talking about the comp study that there was a lot of counties that done away with the deputies and made them all hourly employees?
Yeah, a number of them. I don't know that a lot of them have, but those that have a study like this, like Scott County, we have a study. It's called the Hay system, so it's a little different than what we put to place. But those elected officials are okay with saying, you're no longer my deputy. I'm going to make you a formal professional position that falls underneath that compensation system, and it's not tied to my salary. So in Scott County, the elected official may not be the highest paid employee in that office. So Bill Fenley, the godfather of Scott County, I don't believe he's the highest paid employee in the treasurer's office. Okay. But it's not always, I would say most elected officials I talk to don't like that idea. They wouldn't want their employees to make more money than they do.
And by the way, Paul, after going through the comp study here in this county and the elected officials saying that they were willing to participate, we have gone through at least 2. I haven't had a chance to double check the third one, department today, where the department heads have decided to put their deputies at a percentage and ignore the comp study.
Really?
Yes. So that.
Yeah.
not working
Yeah, I
well.
mean, I don't know. My opinion is, I don't know. We've been talking about this for years, and my opinion was that we all got together, and that department heads wanted to know whether the board would support this comp study once it was done. But my recollection is the board then looked at the elected officials and said, if we commit to that, will you guys commit to following it? And my understanding was everybody said, yep. So from my perspective, the board did exactly what they said they were going to do, and if other entities aren't, then to me that's not what they said they were going to do.
Well, they had the audacity to sit there and answer the question that they were following that when we asked them directly.
But there isn't really a lot we can do about it, is there?
Other than we can send an email back to them and tell them to rework their numbers based on the numbers
Yes.
that Carrie printed off for us this afternoon,
That have been agreed upon.
that have been agreed
Yeah, and
upon.
and it's not, you know, I've had historically different elected officials in different counties, you know, asked about a fight against the board, and my typical advice is, you might win the battle, but you're probably not going to win the war. So, you want to play that game, you can, and be very cautious about it. You know, but it's happened. I've got it. It happens not every year, but not too infrequently, where an elected official will thumb their nose and say, well, the board can't tell me what to do, so I'm going to do it this way. But you're right. From my understanding, I mean, I think you have a right to set what's called a table of organization. So you can establish which positions will be in every office every year, and that elected official would have to come to the board for approval. So if an elected office holder wanted to add a position, it's my understanding the board could say, no, you cannot. But once that position has been approved, you know, at that point, then I think they can spend their budget as they would like to.
Okay, any more questions for Paul? He'll be here. What time do you say you're going to be here? 8:30 tomorrow?
I'll be here as early as you want. And I've got interviews. I think we've got interviews till 3, so I should be there most of the day.
So if anybody wants to visit with Paul tomorrow, stop in the courthouse. Okay?
Sounds good.
Anything else? Thank you, Paul.
You guys take care.
Fair Association.
Got some copies of our proposed budget, I should say our budget approved by the board. Let me see if I get you all guys copies. There'll be 3 columns on this particular budget. It shows our approved budget from last year, shows what actual ended up coming in at, and then the approved proposed budget for this year. Guess I briefly touched on the other day. Of course, we're at Mother Nature's mercy, you know, when it comes to our big event in July. We're looking at ways to protect ourselves a little better with that, of course, with rain insurance. We're entertaining some of those ideas. I had a nice conversation with a gentleman out at the fair convention to gave him the scenario that we did have on that Saturday when we had the severe weather and the rain, and then of course we ended up canceling some events on Sunday. And I asked him, I said, well, since we didn't cancel that event, I says, are you still going to pay off if we were to purchase the rain insurance? And he assured me that they would. It all depends. There's several variables that you have to take into account. There's a certain time period that you can name, and I didn't realize it, but it's up to the individual entity that's purchasing the insurance to name those parameters, whether you want to protect yourself from 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon with so much rain. It can go anywhere from 1/4 inch or 1/10 of an inch on up from there, depending on the type of event you want to cover. If we'd have had, of course, our event covered for the rodeo, even though the rodeo did go on, which was encouraging as I sat out in the rain out by the fireworks, keeping them covered up so they didn't get destroyed. And I could look up at the grandstands, and of course the open bleachers were completely empty, but our covered grandstand was completely packed, full of people. They stayed right there, even though it's raining, and it was, I guess it wasn't a downpour, but it was a moderate rain. But the rodeo continued on. I said, how do you collect for that? And he says, as long as that rain comes in at however so much, whatever you covered yourself, it's a 6 to 10% is about what your policy fee would be to cover your event. Then depends on how much coverage you get. So we're pursuing that. And I'm going to have that gentleman come and talk to us at one of our board meetings and explain that a little further, because I've got some people with that big question mark in their faces. Are you sure? I said, well, he sat right there and told me that, you know.
We mentioned that to the board years ago.
Yeah.
But they weren't interested at that point.
And they weren't interested at that point, yeah. And I told him, I said, you know, you get so much invested and so much work that you go through all year to put something like that on, and then it takes that afternoon of bad weather and it destroys it for you.
Especially high dollar.
You know. I said, we've got a lot of work invested in here, and that was a couple of things that I put out to our association when we met in October. We meet once a year in October, the association itself. We have an annual meeting. But we had 12 board meetings, of course, last year, and I had over an 80% attendance. So I know the people that were invested on our board were there for the meetings. And then I kept track of some attendance of the committee meetings, but after I got totaling that up, we had 77 other committee meetings throughout the year to put that together. So it does take a lot of work and a lot of time invested in it. Of course, it's that, say, you know, of course, when we get to the bottom line, we ended up coming in under. But again, like I said, you know, Mother Nature, we're at that mercy, and we're looking at ways to protect us for that particular thing. Of course, everything goes up. You go out to convention this year, the carnival wants more money, your other acts want more money. So another thing that we're doing this year that we're looking for big things towards is our tent that we put up over our new stage that we built. That sits empty like about 70% of the time we're there. We have our name acts on it at night. You have your Bill Riley talent show. You have your Queen contests and those other things. So we appointed a committee, and they're looking at having free entertainment under that tent on that stage and showcase our local entertainers. So they're putting together a schedule of that to where there's something going on that stage at almost all the time. You can't cover it all, but we're going to increase that.
Are you asking me to sing, Dave?
Only if you want to. We did have karaoke there this year, but it wasn't well received.
You'll get nobody to come.
Nobody to come.
Oh, I think they would.
We're still actively, the other day I know I told you about our racetrack promoter didn't care to carry on this year, so negotiations with the particular one that we had in mind, or a guy that had inquired, those have fell through, so we're still actively looking for a promoter for our racetrack. We will have still Friday night racing at the fair. We have the Sprint Invaders come in, so we'll still put that event on. Just the weekly program may not go this year. We'll look at specials. I've also tasked this board with expanding our horizons, so to speak, in our vision to I guess for the lack of better terms, exploit the fairgrounds, you know, get other events going on out there. So again, like I said the other day, high school rodeo are looking to hold their state finals here for the next 2 years. And we won't have that answer until first week in February, but I know next year for sure. It's this year they were having trouble finding a spot, so we may have them 2 years in a row. We're looking at another rodeo event Memorial Day weekend. We have another fundraiser planned again the first weekend in June, where we'll have a tractor pull out there, semi-truck show and things. So we're working very hard at finding other things that we can do out there to help and to put on even a bigger and better fair as it comes. Again, of course, our focus is towards the 4-H and FFA youth. I see too often, and we experience up, and they do have it back now, but North Cedar schools, You know, at one time they put the FFA groups together because they just didn't have the money to carry on the program, and they did a joint thing, and now they've got them back. They do have an FFA group up there, but I think living in a rural communities or county like we are, where you need to groom them young youth, and we need to provide a good experience and a safe experience for them out there. And it's just like I said, I encourage you to come out and look at the stuff that's going on, the displays that they have. It's not always animal oriented. It's they got the exhibit building there next to the concession stand, the 4-H building there. But it's those kids go to a lot of work throughout the year, and it's I guess my drive is seeing the smile on their faces at fair time. That was always my vacation when I was raised on the farm. You know, was to come to the fair and show off your talents, I guess, and in your exhibits, whether it be the animals or the livestock or the exhibits.
So if you don't get a raised promoter, let's just say that
Mm-hmm.
you don't, are you talking about that income maybe from the sprint cars and things like that to drop down to 4,000?
The particular racetrack income,
Right.
we don't have a line item in here for our rodeo events. We would hope that both those rodeo events would cover that and then some, our potential numbers that we're looking at. So the rodeo company that we're also looking at is someone that's fairly local. They're Solon area, but the IRCA, International Rodeo Company, I believe is what they call it, or Iowa Rodeo Company Association. They're more prominent in the western part of the state, and they're looking to expand to the eastern side of the state to involve the whole state. There's not many rodeos that occur over here that are IRCA sanctioned, and this guy wants to capitalize on that, so to speak, or to expand that over here. So we're looking for a good showing. With that being said, it would be the first rodeo of the year.
In their series, it'd be the first rodeo of the year.
That's correct, yes. It just happens that particular weekend there is a junior high rodeo, but we're trying to stagger our dates to where they'll come to ours first and then go to that one. But it's a different group then, of course. But I was amazed at how much the youth are involved with the rodeos. The Junior High Rodeo Association, the high school rodeo thing that we're, like I said, holding the state finals, looking to hold that here or be the host location for them. But again, like I said, it takes a lot of work, and these people are. I told them at the first meeting last year that I presided over, I said, you're here because of one thing, you've got time invested in this, and you've got a desire to be here because it doesn't pay anything. I mean, it's volunteer again, and they stuck with it right through fair time, and I think some of them had their eyes open to how much work it is. But again, we go back, we truly appreciate the help that you folks have given us, or the county has given us, and that helps us immensely, and we truly appreciate it. We truly appreciate Brad being there. We ride him kind of hard when he comes in.
I didn't think you guys did appreciate me.
Well, I'm working on getting a coffee pot there and having somebody bring treats, Brad. But
I've never mentioned that before.
No, sure.
I appreciate working with your engineer. He's been a godsend to us when we've needed some gravel or things of that nature, the road graded out there for us. He's been Johnny on the spot, so I will say he's been, like I said, a godsend to us, and we really appreciate his help out there too, or when they can, of course. So.
By your budget, you're dropping your asking?
What's that?
Are you dropping
Oh, you're
your
seeing,
request?
if you look up there, she splits that County 8 in two different things.
But that's
If you look further
33,000
down, you'll see the other.
33,500, right?
What's that?
33,500.
Yeah, you'll see 16,750 there at the top, County 8, and then I think she puts it in again down in underneath fair income, so it's 33,500. Yes, and like I said, last year we had asked for a bump. If we could make that 35 even, it would be greatly appreciated, but I know it's...
Last year, wasn't it?
They were getting 33,500.
Yeah, 33,500.
is what they were
Mhm.
getting.
Yep.
So,
This worksheet, it shows 35.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why that's in there.
Well, it was 33.
Because the other years, you see, they've only gotten 30. I don't know why that.
I don't know why it's 35.
We really know you guys work really hard out there. It's a lot of time.
So they're requesting an additional 1,500.
33,500.
We were asking for 35, the 1,500 increase if we
I
could.
think you put that in there.
And
You
I think we
mentioned
asked
that-
for it
you
last
mentioned
year.
that last
Right.
Yeah, we
year.
mentioned it last year. Like I said, we by all means, we truly appreciate the help you've given us. There's some other things that we're looking at out there right now. We're working in cooperative efforts with the Cedar County Cattlemen in replacing our south barn. It needs to be replaced badly. When they put those pole barns in there, of course, the poles into the ground, I should say probably 50% of them have rotted off right at ground level. Of course, that hill comes down there. It's the south cattle barn we're talking about specifically, so the water sits there. We're working with them now and seeking out some grants and some donated money. They've got an account started for us to get that barn replaced, revamp that, and rebuild it. The roof is almost gone. It's got that old aluminum, and of course the nail, where all the nail holes are, they're egg-shaped, and we lost a portion of that in a windstorm last year right before fair, the week before fair, and we had that storm come through when the town got hit so bad. We only lost a portion of that roof. I was out there because we were working on the stage, and I thought that whole roof was going to go, but fortunately we only lost just a small section of it. So then we borrowed from the horse barn up there to replace that aluminum in there, but the horse barn eventually we'll just bring back down. That was a separate storm. We had damage there, and we had to repair that and redo the wash rack totally for the cattle. So, yeah, wash rack. But any other questions from you folks?
Questions or comments?
Thanks for all the time you and your
Yeah.
put in.
Well
Thank you.
appreciated.
Come out and see us.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to the popcorn in the Matthews building.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
All right.
Dave.
Thank you.
Did you decide, are you meeting next Thursday?
Yes, next Thursday.
Any questions?
18. Tim, do you have anything?
No.
Nothing? Okay.
We got hit.
Is there anything else to come before the board?
You want me to give my little report on?
Oh, okay.
I can do it on Tuesday.
No, you can give a report.
All right, I won't take long at all, but I was on the community action phone call. 5 things came up. More board trainings being mandated by the feds, so everybody's going to have to be doing 2 or 3 different classes, mostly online. The state has now went along with the feds from non-competitive grants to competitive grants on all of that, so they're putting a little bit more of the resources into that, make it better. They say it's making for better conversations ahead of time. He was actually praising the competition. There's going to be the state provided some grants last year that you could, some areas that aren't covered by Head Start, just keeping in mind that Cedar County just has one in Tipton. It's $100,000 to start a Head Start. There are a total of 6 in the state. In western Clinton County just got one, and the impact on Cedar County is that it's way over in western Clinton where they're going to have the site, and they will actually take special needs. If we have special needs students, they'll take those from Cedar County. So we have another outlet for our kids that might be special needs. And finally, I thought you might be interested, as of December 31st, there are a total of, these are the energy assistance LIHEAP applications. Scott County has 3,038.22. Clinton has 1419. Muscatine has 880, and Cedar County has 266. And if you break that 266 down, there's 234 applications were given at the Tipton office for the LIHEAP assistance, and then there's 32 at the West Branch satellite. That's where you get that 266 at. They're just about where they should be every year at that point. Those are the highlights that applied to Cedar County.
Community action. Okay, any other business coming before the board?
I think we should send an email or a memo or something out from this board requesting that the department heads follow completely the compensation studies recommendations for, granted that they agreed they were going to participate. for all positions, including those deputies. Unless the board's not gonna go along with it.
And they need to make sure that they, I mean, you've spent a lot of money on that study to not follow through with it.
The compensation team's recommendation including deputies, is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly. Use the dollar numbers that are on this sheet that Carrie sent out to them.
Including the ones that have already presented their budgets.
Yes.
So you wanna send that email out then to them a little bit?
Is everybody in favor of that?
So what did Carrie,
Yep.
did Carrie send?
She had sent.
They all said that they used the numbers
She
that Carrie
sent
gave.
this,
but
right?
She
this
said
is
she had
different.
sent this,
Okay, cause I have this.
which is.
Is that this?
No,
I think
have
it's
that. I don't know what that, if she said she sent that, then she probably did.
You should put it on
Anything
our
this
desk.
for deputies, see?
That's the form I went off of. It's
I
exactly
think it's just in a different format.
She don't have anything on there for
There's
deputies.
nothing on there
For nothing for deputies.
I don't know where that came from. I mean, why that, where that was.
Yeah, she doesn't have any of the deputies on the
But
one
I
that went
don't know
out.
if that's what I don't know exactly what
This
she
is-
sent out to people, so I wasn't involved in that.
Well, okay, that page came to us, and then flip the other page around to me.
This
Right
one?
there. That right there came to us. It showed all the percentages you need to use for IFRS was on,
No, that's the.
and that.
memo
That's
we're
what she
talking
said
about.
to us. Both of them were
We're
together.
talking about a memo.
That the one she sent out to you there?
Yes, that's what she
Don't
said.
have
to
any
us.
deputies wages
There's
on
no
it?
There was no
deputies
deputies
on
on
it.
it.
Well, she may have, I don't know.
That's part
This
of the
is what she
problem,
told
so
me.
then this needs to go back out to
This
the
is
ones
what
that
she
have
said
already
she sent.
presented. Cause this isn't what we got.
So what exactly do you want your memo done?
It's the same.
Just send back that schedule.
This one.
The 14, 15, or what are we talking
This is
about?
15, 16, where it shows.
It's got the deputies all on
hourly,
it now.
hourly wages of all
See,
the
I didn't do
deputies.
that.
So that needs to go out along with the memo, asking them to
That's just saying.
Requesting that department heads follow completely the compensation team recommendation, including deputies, per the attached salary listing?
Mm-hmm.
We wanna make a note on the ones that have already presented that did not do that, so they know.
Yeah,
Maybe
'cause
start, maybe
I
preface
think
it.
everybody, what, all three of them, John, didn't follow that?
I'm not sure about
At
the.
least two.
I haven't broken out the sheriff's.
Because what are these wages include, or what then? These are have an increase on?
Well, some do and some don't,
Those
but
are
that
the
includes
wages
the
that the comp-
deputies
That
in
was
that
in the
study.
comp study.
That's
Yep,
right.
in the comp study.
So we
Nobody
just
will-
need to make
Nobody will
sure
take
that
a
they-
cut in pay. Some of them might not get an increase. They might be at the top of the scale.
So they just need to reevaluate their budgets and make sure that they've included the
explain to what
salaries
this
at
is.
that schedule.
And then make a
That's
notion
all,
on,
'cause you're all gonna
make
have
a
it.
notation on the two that have.
No,
maybe
you
a-
want this to go to all department heads, not just elected
Mm-hmm.
officials.
Do we wanna make-
Just the department heads have got the elected officials though, or just the elected officials got deputies.
Okay.
Right.
But we just wanna make sure that everybody,
Is
even the
following.
ones that haven't presented, are following, so we don't get into a.
Okay, I'll do it in the
Because we'll
morning.
probably have some up here next week that aren't elected officials that will vary from it too.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you gave me that other paper, okay.
Okay?
So Wayne, I know you asked me if I had anything, if you don't mind, I'll go over one real quick thing that's brand new. And the reason I go over it to all of you, because it's gonna affect every one of you. And it'll affect some of the groups that you're on and stuff. On December 14th, 2014, our Congress signed into effect the new grant, and they consolidated nonprofit, Indian, and a lot of federal government grants into one system. And under that, they put out a new CFR 200. 3,800 pages. You're required to read and comply by it. Some of the major changes in the new CFR. Procurement policies, where a lot of counties say we follow the states, that is no longer authorized. You have to have a written policy to be eligible for any type of federal grant. Okay? And when you do your federal grant going forward, you will mark yes or no. Do I have all of this? And you sign off on it. And it goes all the way through there. The new thing it also is you have to have a single audit. And you're going to sign, you're going to do that single audit. And we do one here in the county, so it's not a problem for us. But all counties don't do that. You sign another document that says you have read, the chair of your nonprofit or the chair of your commission, that he has read and understands all of it, and so does the, like myself, the coordinator. And the auditor states that they're going to comply with the new guidelines of Federal 200. And what it does is it makes guidelines from federal, state, county, local, and nonprofits all the same, and the scope was to take out all the loopholes. And they've done that. They have really put in some interesting things. Procurement, it talks about you have to have a written policy, and we just finished ours because we had a policy follow the state, but that's no good. That right there, as soon as you say no, we follow the state, it flags your grant and kills it. You just can't submit it until you have a written policy. So it's a new CFR. It's 200. I got copies of it if you want to read it. If you want to go to sleep one night, you can't sleep, you get to read through this thing. But it does change, and it just puts the onus on everyone. That's every nonprofit. That's going to be all our FEMA grants going forward. Everything.
Maybe you can just come in and read it to us someday.
I don't think so. I've read it once.
I think they're doing it just so that people won't apply.
Oh yeah.
For disqualifying.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people out there that don't do an audit. There's a lot of people out there that don't count.
Well, there's
like
a lot of people who jump through all the hoops and still don't get money.
Well, on my grant, I know one of them, it says, and this is a big thing in mine, can you verify that timesheets PARs are maintained and breaked out on all federal and non-federal activities to account for 100% of your time? Because in your scope of your grant, if you do anything outside of that, then it takes you out. And in this grant here, it states, are you a full-time EMA? And that means 40 hours a week. And if you say no, it says, okay, you're not eligible for this grant. And now they got to say, and if you say, yes, I do other duties, in this now, for the, we're now considered non-federal. And they've changed some of the terminology, and that's not a big thing. That's a lot of it. Reading through is just the new terminology. So if you say, yes, I'm doing more than something else, you have to specify what you do and how many hours of the week it is actually taking you. So if you do some EMAs were doing, they're part-time, they were doing planning and zoning. Well, that took their grants away from them. And it put them on a lower level of echelons based on hours. EMA, 911, that's another area. So, I just thought maybe that'd be, because the Fair Board falls under the same thing, it's a nonprofit. ECIA is going to fall under the same thing. Community Action will fall under the same thing. So, I know it affects a lot of the stuff that we deal with. A lot of reading. We get to sign your name away, and are they going to catch you? I don't know, because you got so many organizations out there. But here's the thing you got to think about: if you sign this document that says I'm following it, and they audit you and you're not, that's embezzlement. You can't do that.
Throw you in the Crowbar Hotel.
Yeah, I'm not going to the hotel.
What's in it besides having a procurement policy that you have to follow? A whole bunch
You
of
do not
other
have to
things?
pay
Yeah.
any FEMA
And where did
payouts
this come
any
from?
small entity.
From the federal government, from
Okay.
legislation.
Okay.
Does your organization have procurement policy in place, and is it followed by procurement equipment, supplies, and, with grant funds? Does your organization have in place job descriptions for all coordinators and stuff? Does your organization have current bylaws? Does your organization maintain a current property inventory in which accounts for all purchases made with grant funds? So all your property has to tell what grant funds. Have you been audited? Has there been any findings with your fiscal agent during the last 24 months? Internal, external stakeholders expressed concern, including complaints about the quality of the functions of the grant project.
What?
You have to answer
Here,
all
what
those.
did you say? I think Bob's saying.
Tim, while you're here, you were talking something about naming somebody to the 911 board other than the...
911 board.
We could still have our person could still be on the 911.
Sure.
He can run it though too, can he? He can be our voting representative.
No, she won't let us do that.
Why?
So,
The sheriff can't be.
The sheriff can do it for you. Whoever is your appointed person can run it.
Next week?
Whoever, it's elected every year.
We can't appoint a board member?
You can appoint members to be there, but you can own, the counties
so
can
if
only
John's running
have.
the meeting, he can't vote? Is that what you're saying?
No, he can't even run the meeting if the chair runs the meeting. He cannot be the chair and be a non-voting member. We tried to do that a couple years ago, and we got slapped down for that. Each county can only have one rep. The county can have one rep.
Voting rep.
Voting rep. It either can be the sheriff or it can be off the board. One or the other. Warren's not a member. Right now, Warren sits in there and he has no voting, no speak. He's just a person sitting in there.
Why do we not want to have somebody from the board here be there?
That's up to you, but right now he runs it and he has no say-so on how it's run. The 911's run by Warren. That's under him. He has no say about
So
it.
in other words, if John stays on that board, he runs it then?
Yep. And Warren doesn't have any
If
speech.
I'm appointed
Warren
as
has
the-
no say-so on how the dispatch runs.
If I'm appointed as a voting member.
Yes.
For the county.
Put that on the,
I have it on there.
okay, for next
Yeah,
week? 'Cause
that's all it
I
is.
just assume we have some feedback from it so
No.
that we could keep our person on there.
On the EMA, you get a vote, and so does the sheriff, because it's made up of both of them, and it's elected officials. But in 911 is all the emergency responding in the county. That's how we have the 16 members.
But I'd just soon have somebody from this board be the appointed person on there so that we get
That's-
the feedback from
That's
them.
up to this board. And I don't care, I just wanted to bring it up, that Warren, who responsible for the dispatchers, responsible for the building, responsible for all the procedures going on, or their actions, has absolutely no say on how the things run. Because it's done by the board, and it's only by him,
At this point.
at this point.
Well, Warren's gonna work with us anyhow.
It's becoming a sore spot across the state with a lot of the sheriff's association, and I just wanted to kill it before it got too far.
Well, it's on the agenda for
Yeah.
next week, so. Okay, anything else coming before the meeting? If there's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been made by Kaufman, is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Smith, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. And there is a meeting scheduled for next Thursday at 8:30 then.
You're going to be escalation for everybody.
What's that?
You're going to be responsible for
No, I'll be gone.